Today I'm going to discuss my superhero daughter and how she went from dialysis to kidney donation, all while combating meningitis. So welcome. If you're new to my channel, welcome back if you are a seasoned subscriber. On Mondays, I do videos all about fashion accessories, just stuff that I love to do, enjoy to do to keep my mind off of all the medical emergencies in this household. And then on Fridays, I do videos all about TSC and FSGS. So if you're interested in either or, please hit that little subscribe button and hit that little bell so you can be notified on all of my latest videos. And let's get started. So a little bit of background about my daughter. Back in 2012, I had given her my kidney because she ended up going into stage 4 kidney failure. She was battling FSGS, which is a form of a genetic kidney disease that is closely related to TSC. Hence why my youngest also has the gene. The one thing about FSGS is that you never know. You can go your entire life without having kidney failure, or you can kind of see my story with my daughter, my oldest daughter, where she ended up going into full-blown kidney disease, hence kidney failure, hence kidney transplant, and second kidney transplant. So unfortunately, it's kind of a hit or miss. We really don't know. There is no cure for FSGS. There is no cure for TSC. There are only forms of or ways to kind of combat it. With FSGS, it's a little bit more complex. She does have a 50% chance for it to become kidney disease, but it doesn't mean it's gonna happen, right? Because had she received the gene from me as well as her father, then it would have been more likely that she would go into full-blown kidney disease or kidney failure. So right now, so far so good for my youngest. Unfortunately for my oldest, she's had one hell of a ride. So this is what my video is all about today. So with my oldest, back in 2012, she got my kidney. Back in 2014, she ended up losing it due to a meningitis infection. Now, the type of meningitis infection she caught, we're not 100% sure because obviously there's so many different forms. But the biggest factor was that when they did the spinal tap, they didn't see it in her brain, when the spinal fluid around her brain or the spinal cord, which we were lucky, right? So we weren't sure what type of meningitis she ended up getting, right? So we believe it was a form of like aseptic meningitis where in those cases, the fluid around your brain and the spine test negative for bacteria. She ended up getting a negative test when they checked her. It means that the meningitis was really difficult for it to grow. In our case, obviously, most likely the meningitis wasn't caused by bacteria. It was probably more common cause of the aspect meningitis was possibly a viral infection. The difficulty here was that unfortunately we weren't sure because she wasn't coughing, sneezing. She did have somewhat of a headache, but it wasn't like a severe headache, which is atypical of a meningitis infection. So we weren't sure what type of meningitis she ended up getting, right? So we believe it was a form of like aseptic meningitis where in those cases, the fluid around your brain and the spine test negative for bacteria. She ended up getting a negative test when they checked her. It means that the meningitis was really difficult for it to grow. In our case, obviously, most likely the meningitis wasn't caused by bacteria. It was probably more common cause of the aspect meningitis was possibly a viral infection. The difficulty here was that unfortunately we weren't sure because she wasn't coughing, sneezing. She did have somewhat of a headache, but it wasn't like a severe headache. A lot of the main symptoms are like fever, headache, stiff neck, sensitivity to light, nausea, vomiting, confusion, altered mental state, which she didn't have. It was crazy. But so the way it ended up happening was that my daughter walked out of her room, said, "Mom, can you check my legs?" Because she felt lumps on her legs. I ended up feeling her legs, and there was like several lumps on her legs, and I was kind of caught off guard because I was like, this isn't normal. It's not like you could hit your leg in 12 different spots and have 12 different hard ball shapes underneath your leg, right, or your skin. So I ended up rushing her to the ER. We later found out her legs ended up blistering pretty bad. I mean, really badly. So they had to do a series of tests. They actually did a biopsy off of her leg, and that's how they confirmed that she did have meningitis. Now, the crazy thing is that the spinal taps were negative. So again, goes back to, it was possibly an aseptic cause of the meningitis, and nobody could give us a confirmation as to type, unfortunately, because of the mass confusion on how it came about. But after 3 months in the hospital, we were fortunate enough that, she ended up starting to feel a little bit better. During her time in the hospital, it was really difficult because they put her on a IV amphotericin for about a month. So she was carrying one of the little backpacks in the hospital. Once she was released from the hospital, they kept her on the IV form just to see how she was doing. She ended up getting really sick because one time she was trying to do this without any food. Still, mom, get frustrated still after that. So she was on that for a little bit of time. Then they took her off of it. They put her on a fluconazole for about 6 months with the low dose, and then they slowly started to increase the dose. That didn't work because in 6 months, it was like 6 to 8 months, she ended up getting lumps on her arms. That was fun. So she still had my kidney at this time, though she was doing dialysis. She lost her kidney obviously after the meningitis infection. She ended up having to do dialysis. She still had my kidney, but she was doing dialysis. So what the doctor was trying to do when the infection came back on her arms, or as we found it first in the arms, her legs started to, again, feel like crap. So they tried to put her on plasmapheresis for 3 months. I'm sorry, for 3 days. So 3 days she would do dialysis, 2 days she would do the plasmapheresis, just to try to save the kidney from having to be removed. Eventually, they did have to take my kidney out. So the fluconazole did not work for her, low dose or high dose. So they tried her on the intraconazole, low dose, and then slowly increased it to a larger dose. That actually was the only thing that worked. So during the time of the fluconazole, she obviously the first time she got the infection, then she caught it again. They put her on fluconazole. So the IV first, the low dosage of fluconazole. 6 months later, she caught the infection. They put her on a higher dose of the fluconazole. Then another 6 months, and she ended up getting another infection again. So that's when they put her on the intraconazole. They put her in the low dose, and then they slowly increased the dosage. And that was the one thing that did help her, and she did not have another reoccurrence. So in the process of about 3 years, it took about 3 years to get her meningitis under control. But during that process, the hospitals refused to put her active on the kidney donation list. So the reason being is that they were afraid that had they put her another kidney in her, that she would end up having a severe reaction or catching another meningitis infection or coming back. And obviously, meningitis is very dangerous. It can result in, unfortunately, swelling to the brain, interfere with blood flow. It can cause even paralysis, stroke, as well as death. So the doctors definitely take meningitis really serious. So you're looking at about a span of 2-3 years. We were battling the cause. We tried to get back on the list, probably about 2016. She was denied, again, because of the meningitis. 2017, we tried again denied because of the meningitis. Then she finally, after about almost 8 years, so looking at about 7.5 years, I told her, hey, this is going to be our biggest, this is going to be our biggest hurdle. It's just to get you approved to get on the list. So after years and years of fighting the cause and trying to get on there, 2 years is about 2.5 years ago now. So she didn't get on the list till about 2022, which was brutal, from 2014. So just think about that. It was really difficult. We finally got the Gainesville hospital to approve her and put her on the list. So we went to 3 different hospitals. She went to Tampa General. Then we went to Miami. And then we went to Gainesville. So she was trying to get on the list in all 3. Gainesville officially gave her the go-ahead, or the nod. And she was called within like 3 months, like literally 3 months. So It was a huge hurdle. Towards her last few years of dialysis, she was really struggling to breathe. She was having a hard time just, focusing. So whenever she would take a few steps, she'd have to like take a deep breath, sit down. I was monitoring her with an oximeter. We had her on, I was checking her blood pressure all the time, just keeping track of how she was doing, and it wasn't very good. That's why I was like, okay, it's time to really push the getting you on the list. So that's why we pushed so hard, especially because we kept trying. We would do the cycle. And then finally, towards the 6.5 to 7th year, I said, it's time. Let's fight the cause again. And then that was when she really was saying, hey, I'm ready for this. Give me the opportunity, because she's still young. And she was finally given the approval. And it went, it took a while for the kidney to start up. So it took about 2 weeks, but it did eventually start up, and now she's doing a lot better. She still had her journeys after that. She had to have a parathyroid, a big portion of it removed. She ended up having to get a hysterectomy. So it definitely has not been easy for her, but she's really a good person. She really has a good heart, and she deserves to have a youth, think about it from our perspective, where we were living our lives. We were, going to the prom, enjoying our time with our best friends or our friends, hanging out, just going out to dinner. These are things that were difficult for her, right? She couldn't go out with her friends. She was stuck to a machine 3 hours a day, coming home completely exhausted. We tried the at-home dialysis. That was a nightmare. That actually took about 2 years from her life, just because it was not cleaning her system. And I believe that was the reason why her lungs took a big hit. And we were lucky that she ended up starting to recover back from that, because that really was the scariest time of our lives, was during that time. Once she went back into the clinics, she was doing better, but she was still struggling because she took those 2 years of her hit. But overall, she's doing a lot better now. Now, when I say the meningitis was really, really scary, clearly because we weren't sure what it was, and they had to confirm with that biopsy. Had you seen her legs, it was just all blistered up. 2 legs where I would have to carry her to the car just to get her from point A to point B. She was in so much pain. Just to take her up to do the plasmapheresis, she would be screaming from the pain. So yeah, she's my superhero. I'm really proud of her now. Before, obviously, I was extremely proud of her, because I don't know if I would have been that strong to be able to do this stuff. And she's definitely got it in her. She's a fighter. And not a lot of us would have probably kept fighting, but she did. And I definitely encourage her. And right now I'm kind of pushing her, because I want her to just enjoy living your life, and get yourself going. During this whole process, she ended up going to college and getting her associate's degree. So I'm excited for her to go back and start her life and just find someone to love and, create her family. It's her time to enjoy her life, where she lost so many years. It's only fair, right? As they say. Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening in. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to check my channel out and just learn a little bit more about my family and what we go through on the medical aspects. Though it's difficult, we still are. I think that it's definitely given me a different perspective in life than most people or most parents that don't understand what it's like to have a child with disability. But we get through it. So again, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you are all having an amazing day. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell so you can be notified on all of my latest videos. And don't forget to hit the like button and comment. Let me know your journey. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll be more than happy to answer. And thank you again. And please don't forget to focus through and evolve. Ciao.